Hey there. Welcome to ATL and 29, a podcast that looks at the NBA from the starting point of Atlanta. My name is Kevin Chouinard. I'm here with Glenn Willis and Tyler Jones on a Sunday night after the All-Stars were announced and the Hawks lost to the Indiana Pacers a day ago. Um, Glenn, what do you think about Jalen Johnson making the All-Star team?
I think it would have been a huge error if that was not the outcome. He's had a great season, especially offensively. He's still growing in his role, being the lead guy and kind of run the offense as much as he does. There's still, reps needed and experience needed and feedback loops needed. That's all a normal part of kind of where he is as he continues to kind of learn how to function in this new role, especially in the post-Trey era. But no, super excited for him. I know everybody's asking like, is he gonna do the dunk contest? I don't honestly don't think the dunk contest is that entertaining anymore. They get 18 tries or whatever at one dunk, so it doesn't really interest me. Plus, I think it's harder on your body than people realize. The you know, so I hope he skips it. But if he decides to do it, I guess Hawks fans can try and enjoy it.
Tyler, what did you think about the East reserves?
Um, I I don't understand why there's no Derek White, considering, I think he's the best basketball player on a good Boston Celtics team. That seems like a miss. Also think Joel Embiid should have made it as well. But I mean, I guess it's fine, but it kind of just, it kind of speaks to how talent poor the East is overall, that certain basketball players, like, no disrespect to Norm Powell, who's had a great year, but like, I don't know. I don't. There's a reason why the Heat didn't have to give up much to get him, and they're still the same team as they have been for the last 4 years. Like, he's a good player, but All Star over Derek White, no, that should never happen. But All Star rewards points, rebounds, and assists. So it's not a surprise Jalen made it. He deserved it, but I just find the Eastern Conference team to be lacking. And also, like, an All Star game without Kawhi Leonard, considering what he's doing this year, is ridiculous. But that's kind of my take on that.
Yeah, with the Kawhi Leonard thing, I think maybe some people just kind of wrote the Clippers off when they had their slow start, but they don't realize what's happened over the last month,
Yeah.
where they've
Yeah.
become literally, I think they're the hottest team in basketball, aren't they? I think that, I think
The
if you go
Hornets,
back a
them and
full
the
month, I
Hornets,
think they're even hotter than the Hornets. Like
Yeah.
they are cooking, and Kawhi is one of the biggest parts of it. It seems kind of crazy that he didn't make the All-Star team.
Yeah, yeah, there'll be a Giannis replacement, right? So somebody else will get in that other spot, right? It
it'd
isn't.
have to be on the Eastern Conference. So
That's what I mean. Like Embiid might get it, or
yeah,
deserving. I mean, some people are saying Brandon Ingram. Brandon Ingram's been good, but Embiid's been more impactful, I think, for his team. And so it'll be interesting to see on that end, who that reserve is. Some guys will just say, "I don't want to go. I want the break." And Embiid probably honestly needs the break much as anyone needs the break. So he might not even want to play in the game. But it'll be interesting to see who takes Giannis' spot.
Yeah, Tyler just mentioned Norman Powell over Derek White, and he tweeted, it's kind of silly maybe to take Norman Powell over Dyson Daniels, all-star stuff, sort of loving their counting stats and all that. That tweet just made me pose a question in my mind, like if you had to pick one player, all-star or otherwise, between Norman Powell and Nikhil Alexander Walker, who would you pick?
I mean, Nikhil's been better, but I think Norm's getting it for he's done it for the last 2 years. I
Right.
think some of it is like, maybe coaches felt like he should have got in last year, and they're rewarding him for continuing his play, whereas Nikhil kind of came out of nowhere. But if all things are being equal, I mean, again, it's no real disrespect to Norm Powell. Like, again, he's a good player.
Yeah.
That's not my that's not the point that I'm trying to make. I'm
Yep.
talking about impacting winning and like what he provides just isn't that. And I need and I really wish coaches would stop rewarding these types of players and start rewarding guys who just impact winning more often. Because like again, like to me, like Derek White not being in it is just ridiculous. Like it's just absurd to me. Like he's one of the best basketball players in the sport. He's been one of the best basketball players in the sport for like half a decade now. And I don't think he's been rewarded properly for All-Star appearance because he doesn't score that many points. Like I mean, I don't, they fans cry or like the media cries about the lack of competitiveness of the All-Star game, but it's the reality of they keep rewarding offensive first players. And
Yeah.
so of course the game is going to be offensive focused. You got a bunch of guys who don't defend often. They're not going to defend an All-Star game. If you want to reward the best players, start acknowledging that this is a defense first league now, considering the talent gap on offense has shrunk so significantly. Like everybody, all good offensive players now have true shooting percentages above 60%. Like that's just mandatory. That was not the case even 5 years ago. It's just the reality of the NBA today. So, like to me, I think I really wish coaches in particular would reward the guys who are impacting the game a lot more than just scoring the ball. Because like if we're being honest, if you're gonna put a heat on the All-Star team, it's got to be Bam Adebayo. He's been their best player. You know, the, their defense doesn't work really without him, and so like I just don't quite understand why Norm is getting rewarded for scoring points. Like that just it's just not a valuable skill. But again, this is consistently shows what coaches and what media and what fans reward, which is points over everything else. So respect the Norm, but I don't think he deserved to get in.
I know every year we hit this point, it takes me back to, the really good Hawks teams from what was it, 10 years ago now or whatever year it was. You got Horford and Millsap and Teague and Korver all made that All-Star team, right? And everybody else just run up and down the court, just freelancing. Al's trying to set a screen for LeBron, and LeBron's like, what are you doing? Just go stand in the car. Like, they're actually trying to do fundamental things in an all-star setting. And it's just like, going back to the TV show, which of these things is not like the other. You got, Al trying to do fundamental stuff out there, Millsap too, and everybody's like, bro, what are you doing? This is an all-star game, man. It's just really funny to think back to that.
Yep. I hope Derek White gets that Giannis replacement job, but
Yeah.
just more than anything, anybody but Paulo Banchero, please. Let's
Yeah,
let
no, we can't.
let's not take the whole point scoring thing that Tyler was just talking about and take it to the extreme.
Yeah. You want to talk about an efficiency issue there, man? Good grief.
Yeah. Well, the Hawks made a trade today.
They did.
Woke up to the news of Vit Krejci headed out to Portland. Um, it feels like kind of more of the same for the Hawks. Like it does seem like they're consistent in what they're going after, but I don't know how do you feel about this trade, Tyler?
It's a good trade. You get value for a guy who wasn't going to be in your rotation going forward. With the fact that you got CJ McCollum and Corey Kispert along with Luke Kennard. Like there's just no room for the Krejci to play. And like I understand he's on a value contract, but that value doesn't equate to being good. Like he's a useful NBA player, good 10th, 11th man, ninth man, maybe on some teams if they don't have shooting, which the Trailblazer, like he'll be better on the Blazers just because they need what he provides for the Hawks.
And they can give him better defensive support.
Yeah, I don't
Naturally.
know about that, but like there's no defensive support when you're that skinny. But like just just overall, we have his archetype, and like Luke Kennard turned out to be better than him, which isn't a surprise. The more games he played, Luke's quality shown a bit more, and even Luke's going to get squeezed a little bit here going forward on playing time. So it's just kind of the nature of the Hawks made the trade. They got CJ back, like that kind of spelt the end of at least for this season's Vit's career. But again, like Vit's on to speak on Vit, like he had a real turnaround because he legitimately was not an NBA player for extended period of time. The Hawks even cut him. He goes to the Timberwolves G League. They sign him back on a two-way, and like he kind of just figures it out. Like he figures out what he needed to do on defense. Then he figured out his shot, and he kind of figured out a role for him in the NBA. And like he's going to have a long career, and he's going to have a long, productive uh, NBA career now that he's kind of established himself as one of the better shooters in the game. So, like, respect to Vit as a development, and I think it's good on Onsi to see that he isn't hesitating to find value wherever he can find it. Like, I just that's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah, I mean, he at first, I don't know, we'll call it 25 games or so, whatever number of games it was, where he was just really shooting lights out. And then the Hawks got, added TJ and Kispert, and he thought, so I think the next step for him, hopefully he plays consistently in Portland. Hopefully for him, he plays consistently in Portland. Because I think for young shooters like that who emerge, and when he's playing every game, it was easier for him to maintain a shooting rhythm. Not playing one game, then playing one game, and not playing two games. That's mentally the hardest process, I think, for a guy who's on the bubble of a rotation is like, how do I not play for a week and then go in and play two back-to-back games because maybe another guy who's normally played ahead of me is hurt or whatever it is. How do you maintain that rhythm when you don't play for a week? That's the big mental step that he has to take to still be ready to play consistently and to go out and make shots, even if he hasn't had any game time in a week or a week and a half. That's really hard to learn to do. It's really hard to learn to do. But that's the next step for him is if he's on the bubble in Portland. Hopefully he's not. Hopefully he plays 18 minutes a game or whatever the number is and can maintain that rhythm game to game because that would help him. But if that's not what it is, he's got to learn how to what kind of work do you do in between games when you're not playing consistently? If you don't know you're going to play tonight or tomorrow night or whatever it is, that's the big next thing for him to solve to be reliable as a guy who might be on the bubble on a good team.
Yeah, and I just want to make this point. Like the reason why Vit fell out of favor is because of his defense, right? And it's just his defense relative to his offense, where at a certain point, a coach has to make a decision. It's like, how much value am I getting on the offensive end compared to what I'm giving up on defense, relative to guys who are similar to you? Like Luke Kennard's just a better shooter, and honestly, he's a more physical defender. Corey Kispert probably a worse shooter than V, maybe similar, maybe more versatile shooter considering he's more comfortable coming off screens
Yep.
as a movement shooter relative to V. But like Corey's a much better physical downhill driver than V will ever be.
Yep.
And he's just a more physical player overall on defense. And like the Hawks, who are already struggling with so much of the physicality aspect of the game of basketball, could not afford to continue to be playing Vit Krejci when your guard rotation includes CJ McCollum and Luke Kennard, and you already have Nikhil Alexander Walker and Dyson Daniels, which is your two best guards. So it's like when somebody like of CJ McCollum caliber is your third guard, somebody's getting squeezed, and like unfortunately, V's kind of skills overlap with the other players. So like to me, like what he has to figure out. I mean, he's got to get better defensively. Like, there's just no sugarcoating this because, like, even for Portland, like he's not good enough offensively to hold up defense only lineups. So it's just so he has to play with offensive oriented players, but the vast majority of offensive oriented players aren't good defensively. So it's kind of hard to find lineups that will work for V. That's what the Hawks ran into. I would imagine like Portland is probably going to have to be like either Shaden Sharp or Vit Krejci is on the floor. It can't be both. So like I think on that aspect he'll help, but the defensive issues are a real thing. Like it's just kind of the reality of the league today. Like it's hard to hide, super skinny guys who aren't the drivers of your offense.
Yeah, I mean the other thing to think through too, and I want to hear what Kevin thinks of the trade too, but I mean pretty functional passer, like pretty creative passer. But the reality is he wasn't going to be on the ball a lot to tap into that pat. Like the role didn't really kind of like drive that usage to him that he could tap into those passing skills because there are other guys who are running the offense and initiating the offense. So in transition, you see some flat. I mean, I remember everyone the pass to uh, who I forgot who was on the other end of the pass, that full court
Kobe
bounce
Buffington.
pass. It
It was
was
Kobe.
Kobe
okay.
Buffkin,
Yeah,
maybe?
Kobe. Yeah, I forgot that. But I mean, just I think him as a fun player to watch, like a fun player to watch, but that doesn't mean that his role is really going to let him tap into all of his kind of strengths, because that's just how the league works and that's how offensive role works, etc. And I know that everyone around the organization team loved him, and he's like, positive guy, great teammate, all that sort of stuff. But that doesn't mean you don't trade him when you have an opportunity to add 2 second round picks and create some space to maybe do another move between now and the deadline. So fun to watch, but business decision, and it can be. We could say, hey, we had fun watching this guy play. He was enjoyable, always smiling and cheering on his teammates and being a good locker room guy, all that sort of stuff. But he wasn't going to play consistently here, just like Tyler said. And my hope for him is he gets consistent minutes in Portland and can make it work there and is able to take a next step in his career because he's easy to root for me.
If Vit could deal with ball pressure, he'd still be in Atlanta, like without question. Like I think that's kind of also a sneaky thing that is an issue. Like our offense, like he can't really be on ball because he's too weak to protect the basketball against physical defenders. And so he had to learn how to become again an off-ball shooter, which he's done a great job of doing, but it's not as natural to him that role as Corey Kispert or Luke Kennard.
It's funny. I mean, first and foremost, like the trade is about the picks that they got. Um, but it's funny that you brought up the pass and Kobe Buffkin because I think in a way, this might be one of those trades where you're making sure the player has opportunity. Like with the players that came in, Vit's opportunity was about to shrink dramatically. And so, for Vit and his representation, thinking about his NBA future, they're thinking like, hey, where's the opportunity for this guy going to be? Like now that you made all these moves. So I think they're probably keeping someone happy by making the trade. But, just one other thought about sort of his situation, like I think that, when you start to look at minutes, like they're gonna have Zach next season, they're gonna have Corey Kispert in all likelihood, I would think next season. And so like his
Mhm.
his opportunity was going to shrink as first and foremost after these trades happen, but also as Zach returns. And so, it's about opportunity. But when you look at Vit from a defensive point of view, when he was filling in for Zach as a starter, I feel like that did him a little bit of a disservice defensively. I don't know if I'm repeating myself. I said this somewhere. I don't think it was here. But like when you plug him into that starting lineup with Dyson and Nikhil, like, you know, 2026 is about matchup basketball now more than ever. But when he's out there with those two, like you just have no other tactic. Like if he's out there with Nikhil and Dyson, like it's obvious what teams are going to do. They're going to try to bully him. Like it went from teams pick on him some of the time to teams pick on him all of the time because when he was starting, like that was just the thing to do. And so I think that was really hard for him.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, I mean, I think it was the Charlotte game. He was out on the floor to defend the last possession. I think it was the Charlotte game, and the Charlotte was trying to generate a shot, and he got away with a foul. But it was like one of the smart things. Like they're not going to call it. He actually grabbed Plumlee's hand and like didn't let him get to Nikhil and set the screen. So he had some craft in that sense, and kind of Quinn kind of trusted him there. in that sense. So, and when the game was over, like the kid went over to Vit was like, "Hey, great job, not letting Plumlee get to me." And not, I think they're trying to create a shot for Knuppel in the corner, I think it was. And so, but to have him alongside two other guards as a guy who just is going to get hunted all the time, with the Hawks not really having a ton of rim protection at the 5 or the 4, it's that makes it tougher too. Portland has a lot of rim protection at the 5 on their
Yep.
roster. So this is going to make it a little easier for Vit in that sense that
Yeah.
they have things the Hawks don't have at that
I
position.
think if he's out there with Denny and Klingon, like
And
that's a
Robert Williams,
reasonable
and
role
yeah,
for him.
yeah, Robert Williams, yeah.
Yeah.
So he's right down the road for me. So might go catch a couple games here and there, and if I'm in the area, I have clients down there, so sometimes I'll go see clients in the day that they're playing a game and check in for a game. So might have to do that a couple times.
It's crazy how many Hawks have gone west. We've got Clint in Houston, Cam Reddish is in San Diego, DeAndre Hunter is in Sacramento. Everybody went west except for Trey.
Yeah, yeah, we'll be in Sacramento in late March, so I might have to go see DeAndre play.
Oh, there you go. Um, what do you make of the loss to Indiana?
But I want to cover some things that kind of go around on Twitter, like uh, people are like, "Oh, Quinn's bad at ATOs, bad at in the game." I want to just talk through this for a second. Okay, for number one, the inbound pass was a mess, right? That robbed them of a chance to get a shot up. We talk all the time. You can't have a possession late and not generate a field goal attempt. That just cannot happen, right? And that's what happened on that possession. So whatever got screwed up. Teams, everybody in the league, literally everybody in the league, switches 1 through 5 in under 10 seconds, with less than 10 seconds on the clock. They switch everything. So the likelihood you actually get to run the thing that was drawn up during the timeout is like 5%. I mean, it's like you cannot get to what was drawn up, which is why individual shot creators are so valuable at the end of the game. And the Hawks don't really have that on the roster. Jalen's kind of, I don't know, halfway there. What do you want to call it, right? But he was inbounding the ball there, which was a little bit head scratching for me. But maybe I don't know what Clint had drawn up, right? So in that sense, so everybody switches. They call it, there's different terms. It's all reds or switch everything or 1 through 5 switching or whatever terminology different teams use. They just don't let you run your stuff. They don't let you run what you drew up. No one lets you run what you drew up. So more and more, if you go watch end of game possessions, like if you have league pass, you can see what a lot of coaches are doing now is they're putting two offensive players in the backcourt and three offensive players in the front court and spread those three guys out to make it harder and create longer lines for defenders to have to connect and cover that switch. Now, on the defensive side, some coaches are like, well, we're going to defend you 4-on-3, but we'll put one guy in the backcourt with your two. It's like, so how do you know what the team's going to do when you're coming out of a timeout, right? And so this is a cat and mouse, X's and O's game that everybody's trying to figure out. And a lot of teams are solving for it by putting two in the back court and three in the front court, seeing if they can kind of create more space for an individual shot creator. I want to see Jalen get those opportunities at this point. I don't care if he fails 5 times in a row. I really don't care. He needs those reps, and he needs to have that opportunity. But I think people don't realize that the defense does not let you run what you drew up in the huddle, like ever. They just switch everything and shut it down, and you have to improvise, and that's what happens in under 10 seconds on the shot clock in the game all the time.
Well, honestly, I thought the bigger issue is that um because Kongu didn't play at all. Like if Kongu's out there, he's an easy person to just give the outlet for because he's a wide body and also he can set a good screen and you can't switch a smaller guy on him. If or or if that's Porzingis, it's the same, situation. But because it was Mo Gay, you don't trust to throw the ball to Mo Gay, right? So that takes one option away. Like Mo was in the game to set a screen. I thought he set a poor screen to begin with. And so like that was the bigger issue. And then Jalen and Nikhil just had a miscommunication. Unfortunate, but it happens. That's where, you know, you look at the guys on the floor when it's Nikhil Alexander Walker and CJ McCollum. Well, yeah, Jalen Johnson's the best passer out of those guys. So you trust him to make a decision with the ball in his hands. And I think he just made a mistake there. But it's tough. If they were only down 2, maybe Dyson's still in the game. Because they're down 3, you take Dyson out. That's also another issue. Like, so there's just a lot of snowballing issues going on there. But overall, like the Pacers game, like it just felt like such a, similar to the Rockets. It's very hard to win when you only play with one center. I know Mo had a decent, offensive game. Like he was good overall, but like there were so many missed opportunities that Okongwu just nails consistently on offense. And he's just a better defender at the 5 than Mo Gay is overall. Like he doesn't let Jay Huff get a shot up. Respectfully, Jay Huff is not able to do anything when he's guarded by a Okongwu compared to what he was able to get away with going up against Mo Gay, particularly at the rim. Like so it just kind of goes to show that yeah, Okongwu's pretty good. He's been missed these last 2 games. Hopefully he comes back pretty soon because we've more or less seen what the Hawks look like when they only have one center on the floor. It's not good. They just don't have the size to compete. And like I think it brings the worst out of Jalen on defense when he's not playing next to a center.
Yeah, I I thought there were some good things that Jalen did in that game. I felt like part of the reason Mo had a good offensive game is that Jalen was aware of him and getting him some opportunities. And so, I thought that Jalen both incorporated Mo appropriately on offense and did a pretty good job dealing with the lack of spacing that's going to happen when you got Mo in there instead of Onyeka. Things were a lot tighter, even for, kind of a small Indiana defense. Like they were just further packed in the paint that they would have been with Onyeka screening and shooting and just giving more space than just, where Mo, where it's all he can do is really be in the corner. And so it was just too easy to bring somebody down from the corner a lot of the time. And I thought Jalen did pretty well in that tight confines of that situation. But in the second half or in the fourth quarter, when it was late, I thought the Hawks really dialed up their offense. I'm sorry, completely botched that sentence. In the fourth quarter, I thought the Hawks did a good job on defense when it was Dyson and Nikhil and Mo and CJ McCollum. Like their defense was tight, and Indiana just picked on Jalen over and over again. Like there were just, what was it, 3, 4, 5 defensive breakdowns. Jalen's guy, they back cut him. They sent his guy around a screen, and Jalen got lost, or he just lost track and somebody scored. Like I thought it was a really rough defensive game from Jalen, especially late. Like he misses Onyeka. I'm sure the communications are different when you don't have Onyeka out there, but
For sure. For
that
sure.
that was
Onyeka,
a really
I
rough
mean,
fourth quarter from Jalen.
the difference is Onyeka holds him accountable. Like that's what the difference is. And so when Onyeka's not out there, Jalen kind of just floats more often than he should. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's tough. Like you can't give up 80 points to a Pacers team. Granted, they were making a lot of threes. I
That
understand
was
that.
so weird though. Like the first 5 minutes of the game, the Hawks defense was great, and the Pacers scored every time. Like it was one of the weirdest things I've ever seen.
Yeah, they were. I mean, they were playing hyper aggressive defense, but they weren't fall. They just
They
weren't
couldn't
getting the 50
finish the
50 balls.
They
They couldn't get the 50-50 balls
Good
because
rebound.
Pacers play. I mean, Pacers play a little bit harder than the Hawks do. They got a little bit more intent. They play with a little bit more intensity that showed up throughout the whole 48 minutes. Because the Hawks didn't sustain that defensive effort after those first 5 minutes. And then the game really switched when Dyson got called for ridiculous fouls.
yes.
And on a side note, like if Pascal Siakam is just allowed to play with his hands, but the defender is not, then what are we doing here as a sport? Because like he's just allowed to two-hand shove Dyson Daniels to create separation, and Dyson's not allowed to retaliate, or they're gonna call a foul. And I'm like,
Yep.
because like Dyson was in his grip, like Dyson was not letting Pascal do anything he wanted to do. He's crying to the referees, and at some point, the referee's like, "All right, we're calling the foul." And it's like, "All right, well, then what are we doing here? You know, like we're just going to reward this type of not like this is not good basketball that Pascal's playing. He's just throwing his body around and hoping you call the foul or not. And then when you don't call the foul, or when the defender is trying to avoid the foul, he's able to get his get his game off. And it's just I don't know. I don't find this brand of basketball terribly appealing, but this is what the NBA wants. They want more size. They want more physicality. The only counter is that ideally uh, a bigger basketball player is just guarding Pascal. So like if he's pushing and shoving, none of that matters. So like a combo again was missed there where you can't uh you could probably try a combo on Pascal. I would have tried Mo a little bit more on Pascal too, once Dyson got into foul trouble, but with the fact you only got two guys you trust to play center, that's another issue that shows up when you don't have a Kongu or Kristaps. So it's a knock on effect of only having one true center, unfortunately, and that will continue until Kongu or KP come back. So like it's kind of the reality of the team. Quinn's kind of limited on what he can do on both ends of the floor. Maybe if Zach can get into the groove and get off this minutes restriction, maybe he could have provided a little bit more as well. But like it's once Dyson wasn't able to guard Pascal, it was open season for the Pacers. Like they're just able to get to anything they wanted, and like there's not much the Hawks could do to really counter at that particular time, and that just snowballed to giving up 80 points. So like, yep, I do think to me though the bigger picture taken away from just this one particular game and looking at the context of the entire season, that Mo and Asa are in trouble in the sense that without Trae Young in particular, like without like a true offensive engine, I don't know if they'll provide enough value on the floor, whether it be offense or defense, between Mo and Asa to really warrant consistent playing time on a better basketball team. Because like Mo's offense is just it's just not good enough at this level. But it's fine. I think it'd be better if you had a more usage hog like Trae Young or even like a Luka Doncic type, where all you got to do is stand in the corner and take threes. Where this Hawks offense really requires a little bit more verve, and Quinn kind of brought it up against the Pacers. He wasn't happy with the offensive flow consistently, and like Okongwu was missed because Okongwu gives the ball back and he makes the right read, and Mo doesn't do that. Asa does, but his defense is so far behind. Uh, and like as a shooter at the four, he's not at like he's been okay as a shooter, but I don't see him ever like being the volume type of shooter that Jalen has even turned himself into. Maybe he gets there. I think he's doing some interesting stuff in the G League. I think that's his best pathway forward. But like I do wonder, like to me, I look at those two guys and I'm like, I'd much rather just have a center. I would rather have a fifth guy who I know can play center and provide real size, length, and athleticism at that position relative to what Mo and Asa provide. But that's maybe an off-season topic going forward, depending on what they do.
I have like five things that I want to talk about before we run out of time. But since you brought it up, here's one that I've been waiting on for a long time. And I think it kind of fits here because maybe I agree with your point that right now both Mo and Asa are very, very limited. And it's tough to get real great value out of them. And at the same time, they're both very young, as we saw with V, like players develop, players change. And so, it might be different for Mo and Asa next year. But one thing that I think is absolutely vital going forward, because we're going on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years of this now. I don't know how many years it's been. But if you've got 15 NBA roster spots and 3 2-way contracts, and you start thinking about, what kind of players do you want beyond your 9-player rotation? for God's sakes, stack up on bigs. Get big athletes that you can bring off your bench. And I know that's hard to find and that's rare, but like stacking a bunch of shooters and wing players, like at some point you don't need them. They don't get hurt as much.
Yep.
And so you need to have some rebounding, some defense, some athleticism in spots 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 plus your two ways. If there's any consideration at all when you're trying to pick between player A and player B when you get to those roster spots, take the bigger, more athletic person because every year some big in the rotation gets hurt because they're asked to do a lot and then you are stuck. And it's been so many seasons in a row now. And so like it's like a fringe thing because it's the stuff that happens at the end of the roster, but it matters every single year and just don't fall for it again in 2026, 27.
Yeah, I mean, Tyler talked about it a lot. The whole rest of the league is snapping a high defensive floor being what you build from, right? The high defensive floor. And the Hawks are swung the roster towards offense. I mean, KP is an offensive guy, right? He's when he can play and drop and be in the right spot, he can impact shots at the rim and things like that. But I mean, I don't even remember the last time he played. It feels like it's been, it feels like 3 years. It hasn't been 3 years, but it feels like it's been an eternity since he played. And Mo and Ace, so they're not ready to play center. It was a little easier for Mo against the Pacers because they play five out and there's less demand on him to be like right in front of the rim the whole time. So that went better. He played well overall last night defensively, especially. But I agree with you. Like, but who do you go trade for? Who do you find? Like, how do you go find that guy? And they swung this roster towards offense in the preseason while the whole rest of the league is like, we're starting from the position of a high defensive floor, and then we're going to, on offense, we're going to have enough ball handling, enough shooting. We're going to, whatever it is. And the pendulum has swung way back to the other side. The Hawks are stuck as one of maybe 3 to 5 teams who are built for offense. And outside of their guard play, like Nikhil and Dyson, don't, I mean, I mean, Mo was an impeccable defender, but when we're playing against a big team, that disappears on you for him. So I agree. I mean, it's gonna be interesting to see what they do. It's kind of funny today on the ESPN broadcast. Richard Jefferson said the trade deadline was February 8th. It's not February 8th. Richard Jefferson's February 5th. To be clear about that. So we're what, 4 days away from that now, right? And the Hawks cleared a roster spot today. So it's going to be interesting to see, like, can they find another center that
Wait,
can?
what did the Hawks do? They still have they picked up Reed, so they didn't clear a roster spot.
I
They
mean,
didn't
they
waive him.
can't.
If
They're
they waive
almost
him, then they've cleared a roster spot.
Yeah, but they're going to wait. Oh, I
yeah.
shouldn't do that, I guess. But I don't know why they wouldn't waive him, but
Okay.
we'll see. But for me, it's like I don't know. I wouldn't mind if they traded for Sadiq. He's playing really, really well. Doesn't solve what you're talking about at all, Kevin, though. Doesn't solve that at all, right? But you're not playing Mo and Ace all the time, right? He can play behind Jalen. He can play next to Jalen. Um, and then what do they do with Nico? Like, does Nico stay on? So 4 days, we'll see.
Yeah, well, we'll have to do another pod before that. And I guess we'll wrap it up and say goodnight, Bob.
Good
Bye,
night,
Bob.
Bob.
All right. Thanks, fellas.